Okay. We're just on the very top. Hopefully we'll be able to finish the parak this morning. Maybe. Thank you. Okay, we're in the very bottom of Mem Aleph. Ton Rabbana L'Olam Yira Odom Atzmo Kilu Chetzu Chai V'Chetzu Zakai. A person should always see himself that he's exactly in the balance. 50% meritorious, 50% in the negative. Osa mitzvah achas, ashrov, shechri atzm l'kapschus. If he does even one mitzvah, he's fortunate because he's swayed himself, the scale, to the positive, to the meritorious side. Of aveira achas, if he does even one aveira, oilo shechri atzm l'kapschus, kapchova. He swayed it. Woe to him that he swayed it to the negative. Shenemar, v'chote echod, yo'abe tova harbe. One sin could cause him to lose much good. Bishul chet yichidi shachoto ovid meno tovas harbe. Because what differentiates between tzaddik and Russia? If the majority is negative or positive. So here he was in the balance. He could have gone to the positive. His classification could have been tzaddik. Now that it's Russia, God deals with him totally different, as we'll discuss in a minute. Well, we discussed this earlier. We said exactly it's consistent with what the Gemara explained it. The Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos that you shouldn't estimate any mitzvah, even a mitzvah kala. Why? Right? That's one way. I mean, that's one way not to underestimate the value of mitzvah. That we perceive a mitzvah to be insignificant, but if you, in this context, there's nothing insignificant, correct? Because if you're exactly in the balance, as insignificant as may be, it makes the difference. Whether your classification is tzaddik or not tzaddik. You do the mitzvah as insignificant as may be. If you're exactly in the balance, it's going to sweat to the positive. Could you imagine a person wants to be classified in Forbes, and he could have been number 3, and he missed it by $1, right? $1 made the difference. Okay, lahavdil. One is as significant as that mitzvah may be. Without iyatu yodei matan schor shel mitzvahs, that would have made the difference, whether he's classified as tzaddik or not tzaddik. He's going to go to Gehenna. He's going to pay the price. None. He gets olam haba. He'll get an exceptional place. Even the tzaddik who's a tzaddik, for his failings, he's going to have to pay the price. If he hasn't been atoned in this world, he will go to Gehenna. It's a whole different classification of person. Here the question is, you may even be paid off in this world. We're going to discuss in a moment. A Russia is paid off in this world. So it's oilo. What do you mean? You've forfeited all the good. What do you mean? You're going to receive reward for the good. God's not going to deny you what you deserve. But it means, in the ultimate, you lost out. Now, according to Shimi Yochai, there where the individual is only focusing on his own predicament. Rabbi Elazar Shimon says God judges the whole world. Is the world tzaddik? Is the world Russia? The world is evaluated based on, is it worthwhile for God to keep going or not? And the individual is. The world is exactly in the balance. The world is in the balance. And the person does one mitzvah. And whether he's in the balance or not, he does one mitzvah. He swayed himself in the whole world, the kapschus. Of aveira achas, oilo shechriyas atzmo v'eskol olam kulo l'kapchova. He's actually swayed the world to be judged negative, the whole world, and he's the one. See, it's a whole different level of culpability. Because he chose at that moment to do the wrong thing, he actually brought the world down. Same pasuk. I remember when the 6-Day War broke out. When we first got the first news, we had no idea. It sounded like it was disastrous. So there was a certain bocher in yeshiva, and right before it broke, he did something which was very bad, something very sinful. And he came to me and he said to me, he says, I may be the cause of this. Exactly when it happened, he did something. So I said, go speak to the mashgiach. It's not for me to deal with. Go speak to the mashgiach. Afterwards, it turned out, Baruch Hashem, it wasn't what we thought it was. But initially he felt guilty that he was the cause of all the tragedies that can take place. He's culpable for that. No. It comes out phenomenal. Let's say the world is exactly in the balance. The Rambam says when Hashem evaluates something, it's not quantitative, it's qualitative. So let's say one mitzvah makes the difference, saves the whole world. If he normally would do the one mitzvah, if the world wouldn't be in this predicament, the mitzvah doesn't have that value. Now, because of the circumstance, in terms of what it does, it brings about, it has phenomenal value, it has much greater value. Right? So even the mitzvah is a different mitzvah. The same stalker that he did now is a different stalker if he would have done it some other time. Right? Because the ramifications of the stalker, it's a whole different ramification. He saved the world. Total number of mitzvahs. Right. Has nothing to do with people. Right. Destroying the world. I mean, the Rambam, when the Rambam cites this, there's another question. Rambam, he says, as a person is judged, a city is judged, or a region is judged, and the world is judged. The Gemara is only discussing the person and the world. The Gemara doesn't discuss the city, because the Rambam cites the case from Sodom, right? After Avram, he actually entered into denial with Hashem. Hashem says, I will spare the city. If not, it's going to be destroyed. So you see that if the majority of the people are Rishoyim, the city's destroyed. And he says, just do the same things with. So the Riva takes issue with this. He says, but factually, you see, that's not reality. The world is that. He has some kind of question over there. But the Rambam learns the world would be destroyed. If factually the majority of the world would be evil, he would destroy the world. See, it's not simple. It's not simple. We always speak about Zoche Chazdei Avos. Right? We speak Hashem Zoche Chazdei Avos. If not for Chazdei Avos, Hashem has no reason to continue. Right? So why does he continue? Zoche Chazdei Avos. So it could be in the time of Sodom, they depleted, they had nothing in their favor. So if you have nothing in your favor, not only themselves, even from previous, so Hashem's going to destroy them. So even if the world, the majority of its actions are negative, Hashem may have reason to keep the world going. Even though in terms of the value of their actions, they deserve to be destroyed. But because there is a schus, not their schus, Hashem keeps the enterprise going. I'm saying everything is circumstantial. Like I'm saying, the person sins at this moment, and he takes the world down. Because of the ramifications of that moment, the person is much more culpable than if he would have done that at any other time. Because the consequence wouldn't have been as serious. Right? It's a different sin. Okay. Rav Shimi Choy Omer. Afilu tzadik gomer kol yomov. Okay, if you take a look in the Rambam, it seems not the way they learn Pshat in Hilchos Tshuva. Shimi Choy says a person is an absolute tzaddik. Kol yomov, his whole life. Umorad ba'achrona. And he's rebellious at the last moment of his life. Ibed es harishonos. He forfeits all the mitzvahs that he did throughout his life. Hear this? We'll see in a moment. The way the Gemara understands it now, a man did mitzvahs, and we're not speaking about where he regrets the mitzvahs that he's done. But at the end of his life, he becomes rebellious. He loses he forfeits everything. Shenemar, at a defiance. I will. He could have eaten kosher. He chose out of spite to eat not kosher. He didn't have to violate Shabbos. Out of spite, he violates Shabbos. That's lahachis. What we call lahachis. Muma lahachis. He forfeits everything. Shenema tzidkas atzadik lo satzilenu b'yom pisho. The righteousness of the tzaddik will not save him on the day of his defiance. Va'afilu rosha gomer kol yomov. Also tshuva b'achrona. A person's a rosh his whole life, and he does tshuva at the very end of his life. This is the whole idea of vidu before a person dies. A maskir lo shum risho. He will not mention at the day of judgment, time of judgment, any of his evil throughout his life. Shenemar v'rishis harosho lo yikoshu bo b'yom shuvo mirisho. The evil of the Rasha, he will not be ensnared on the day that he repents of that evil. So now, okay, we'll get back to this in a moment. Samar asks on Reb Shimon Yochai's statement, it says, a person all his life was an absolute tzaddik. At the end of his life, he becomes rebellious. He becomes defiant. He forfeits all the good. Samar asks, why should he forfeit all the good? A tzaddik means majority positive. So now that he did something negative, let it be 50-50. Right? Omer Ishlokish b'toal harishonos. When it says when he became defiant at the end of his life, he said not only was he defiant, he said, I regret all the mitzvahs that I've done throughout my life. He's toal harishonos. So because he's toal harishonos, therefore, he forfeits everything. But if a person just at the end of his life, he chooses to do whatever he chooses to do, and he doesn't regret the good he did in his life, he's accredited for all the good that he did in his life.
But even if he regrets, how do we understand it?
We'll discuss in a minute. Okay? Now, the way the Meforshim all learned this Gemara, it's not like the Rambam. They originally, if a person does something defiantly at the end of his life, he forfeits all the good. So what did he do? He violated Shabbos out of spite. He ate not kosher out of spite. Muma lahachis. Right? That's what he did. The Gemara says no. And in addition to that, he regretted all the good he did in his life. So they say it's not enough just to make the statement, I regret. It had to be actualized through an action. He did an action, defiant action. Because otherwise, it should be classified in a just a statement alone shouldn't be sufficient that a person should fall for all the good. But if it comes to fruition, he actualizes that defiance, then the intent takes on that value, that negative value. That's the way they all learn. If a person would just say, I regret all the good that I did, he is a credit to all the good. But if he goes and he defiantly violates the Torah, in addition to say, I regret everything, here he's proving it. He's proving that he means what he's saying. Because we say, until you do it, person doesn't really mean what he says, because he has a presumed status of a tzaddik. People say crazy things, say things irresponsibly. But here that he actualized the wrong on a defiant level, now it all crystallizes. That's what they all learn. Nothing. It says nothing. eBay. Everything's wiped out. It wipes out the negative record. There's nothing negative. There's no claims against the man. We'll discuss. There are many things to discuss over here. I want to tell you what the Rambam says. The Rambam doesn't say a person defiantly defied God at the end of his life by doing an Aveira. He says a person's a tzaddik all his life, and at the end of his life he says, I regret all, and he explains what it means. I regret all the mitzvahs that I've ever done in my life. The slate is wiped clean. They will not mention anything positive they ever did in his life. That's the Rambam. It's not, he has to actualize something negative, and then the intent takes on its negative value. Ramam Sitol Shonis means without doing an action. Just the declaration itself is sufficient to cause him to obliterate the positive record. It's destroyed. What's the rationale? The rationale is this. We once mentioned Tosa Shita. David, this is your parsha. This is your discussion. Mitzvah Shrichas Kavana, Mitzvah Saint Shrichas Kavana. So Tosa's position is that even if you're of the opinion of Mitzvah Ain't Shrichas Kavana, that if a person does a mitzvah even without thinking in mind for the sake of the mitzvah, it has value. So Tosa says, what about if a person has a negative intent? Right? If it's neutral, although you didn't think that you're doing it for the sake of the mitzvah, it has full value. But what about a person who says, I don't want to be Yotzei the mitzvah? I don't want to be Yotzei the mitzvah. Then even the position of mitzvah Ein Shrichas Kavana is in agreement with the position of mitzvah Shrichas Kavana. The mitzvah has no value. The mitzvah, he's not accredited for the mitzvah. Okay, that's Shitas Tosas. That's mitzvah Saint Shrichas Kavana. No, we're talking about you do a mitzvah, so normally you'd be accredited, even though you didn't think you're doing it for the sake of the mitzvah. But if you think in your mind, I don't want it should have mitzvah value. No, there's nothing to do with this. There you're doing a mitzvah, positive mitzvah. So I don't want to be Yotzei with this. I'll give you an example. We say Vayichulu Friday night. So Chazal said, the Kiddush al kosher is rabbinical. It's not a doraisa. That you have to say Kiddush on a cup of wine. Correct? Zochas Yom Shabbos Lakacha, just declarations enough to fulfill the mitzvah. But the optimum way to do the mitzvah is on a cup of wine. So, and it's Friday night's a doraisa. So if a person says Shmon Esrei Friday night, and you say Vayichulu, right? And if you hold mitzvahs Ein Shrichas Kavana, so even though you didn't intend to be Yotzei the mitzvah of Kiddush with that, saying that paragraph, you were Yotzei. So the Chofetz Chaim says you should have specifically in mind when you say it that you don't want to be Yotzei with Vayichulu. So that when you come to the meal and you say Kiddush on the coast, you'll be fulfilling the doraisa on a cup of wine. So that's the negative. I don't want to be Yotzei Kiddush, Zoch Yom Shabbos L'Kacha, will say Vayichul Nishmon Esrei. Okay? That's the way a person should conduct himself. Okay? So the Shagasari asks a question which we once discussed on Tosas. And he says that he seems there's an oversight. Tosas missed the Gemara. Because it's clear from the Gemara that it's incorrect. Because the Gemara says in Eruvin at the end of the Masechta that if a person finds a number of pairs of tefillin on Shabbos, is he permitted to put on 2 pairs of tefillin to carry him from Rishus HaRabim to Rishus HaYachid because it's derech levisha, you're wearing, it's not transporting, or you can only put on 1 at a time. You're not permitted to put 2 pair. Someone says, what does it depend upon? It depends upon mitzvah shrichas kavana, mitzvah shrichas kavana. If you're of the opinion mitzvah shrichas kavana, so there it has no mitzvah value, seen on violation of Baltosif. However, if you're mitzvah shrichas kavana, you cannot put on more than 1. So the Shagasari asks, everybody should agree. If even the opinion of mitzvah shrichas kavana concurs with the other position that if you have a negative intent that you don't want, it has no value, everybody should be agreeing, put on 2 pairs of tefillin and have in mind, I don't want it to be tefillin. I don't want it to be Yotzei the mitzvah. So if that's the case, you won't be in violation of Baltosif. That's the Shagasari's question on Tosas. Therefore, he says clearly, you see, it's incorrect. Tos's position is not a correct position. Okay? That's Tos. That's the Shagasari. So Shlomo Hyman answers, he explains it like this. There's a Gemara, the Gemara says in Sukkah that in a number of places that when you bracha, you have to say over Lasi Yoson. Before you do the mitzvah, it's always predicated on the bracha. What happens if you're already Yotzei? You can no longer say the mitzvah. A person, let's say, takes a lulav, and he waves it, and then he realized he didn't say a bracha. Could you still say the bracha? You can't say the bracha any longer, because you already Yotzei the mitzvah. Yetik zayis matzah, and you forgot to say al chilas matzah. And you Yotzei, could you still say achilas matzah? You can't say, you already Yotzei, it's after the fact. So Tosas asks, if you're of the opinion this is ain't shrichas kavana, so the moment you take this 4 species in your hands, Yotzei immediately. So how do you say the bracha afterwards? So Tosas says that's the reason why when you take the esrog, you take it inverted. Because you only yotzei if it's derech gidulo, only in the direction that it grows. The other answer, Tosa says, no, when you take it, you should have in mind specifically that you don't want to be yotzei. You don't want to be yotzei. So if that's the case, if you have that in mind, so when you initially take it, even if your opinion aim it's a sichus kavana, you still are able to say the bracha, because it's pre the mitzvah. Okay, that's the other answer Tosa says. So Rabbi Shlomo Hyman says, he says, Tosa says, you don't want to be yotzei the mitzvah. He says the two things. If a person has a pair of tefillin, he puts a fifth compartment in the tefillin, sharosh, it's Bal Tosif. Why? Because the object of the mitzvah is 4, not 5. Has 4 compartments, doesn't have 5 compartments. Tefillin sharosh. It's supposed to have 4 parchments, not 5 parchments. So there you're altering the object of the mitzvah. That's the object. So now the question is this. If you put on a pair of tefillin without intent, if it's not infused with intent, is that called an object of mitzvah, or is it not called an object of mitzvah? Unrelated to biyotzei. So if you're of the opinion mitzvahs ain't shrichas kavana, it's considered an object, mitzvah, you're wearing a mitzvah object, although it's not infused with intent. It already assumes the status, identity of a mitzvah object. You're wearing 2 pairs of tefillin. Has nothing to do with biyotzei the mitzvah. But if you have the opinion mitzvah shrichas kavana, it's a piece of leather with compartments. It's not called mitzvah. Unless it's infused with intent, it has no value whatsoever. It doesn't identify even as a mitzvah object. Therefore Baal Tosef has no relevance to the whole discussion. What Tosef says, wherever he says it, that's the mitzvah, you should be accredited for the fulfillment of the mitzvah. Did you fulfill your obligation? If a person says, I don't want to be yotzei, I don't want credit, I don't want to be yotzei, God's not going to force it upon you. You don't want to be yotzei. I'll be yotzei later, not right now. It's two separate issues, 2 discussions. The Gemara in Eruvin is speaking about what are you wearing? Are you wearing a mitzvah object or not a mitzvah object? Does it, to assume that identity, does it have to be infused with the intent or not? That's the discussion in Eruvin. The discussion, which Tosa says throughout Shas, whether it's the lulav or anything else, where you have intent, that's to be accredited for the mitzvah. I don't want to be accredited. Therefore, you're not yotzei. That's the question of yotzei. So now, that's the Rambam, Toala Rishonos. God says, you have all this credit accumulated throughout your lifetime for doing all the mitzvahs. Man says, I don't want it. God doesn't want. He's not going to force anything upon you. You don't want. We say, something which is beneficial to a person, I could do something on your behalf because it's beneficial to you. Person, I don't want it. But it's in your best interest. You can't force something upon a person if he doesn't want it. So the same thing. You have this positive record. God wants to accredit you, wants to reward you for it. I'm not interested. You're not interested. God doesn't give it. So therefore the slate is obliterated. There's no positive. That is the concept of To'el Rishonos.
But the fact that it's undecided that the person, had he known everything and took everything into consideration, he would ultimately, when he dies, then there's consequences.
He may regret the mistake he did. That's something else.
And why doesn't like a temporary insanity kind of concept happen here? That the person, well, I understand, but clearly he's saying something.
Only God knows. We rule halacha. I mean, there's many things that if a person behaves in a certain way, immediately we say the man was unstable, was incompetent, unless it's proven beyond any doubt that he was fully competent. I mean, there's when we do Hataras Nadar before Rosh Hashanah, after we finish, and the Bezdin responds with the annulment, we have something called Mesiras Modo. We make a statement, and it's a disclaimer. We say any vows, oaths that we should do in the future, we disavow them in advance. They should have no value, right? It's a disclaimer. Okay? So there's no question, what do we do? If we already, most of them did last year, what do we do? Have Hataras Nadar over again, right? That's the question. So the Ran and the Nadarim explains it. Of course, you could undo a disclaimer. If when you make the netter, you're conscious of the disclaimer, say, despite that, I still want it to be, so the disclaimer has no relevance to the netter or the oath that you're taking. So that's the reason why year in, year out, we always do Hataras Nadarim. So the disclaimer will help for things which you weren't conscious of when you made the new netter. But if you were conscious of the disclaimer, despite that you made the netter, that disclaimer has no relevance to the new netter that you had made. Therefore, you do Hataras Ner every year. This is a famous Ramban. The Ramban says that before a person dies, very often he's Mosam Hodo. Because a person at the end of his life, he can be in such a state of pain, he could say things which are really out of line. Heretical statements because of the pain that he's suffering. You never know what pain a person goes through at the end of his life. So when the person's still has a coherent mind, the person says it, that anything he should say later which is unacceptable, he's totally disassociated with, he takes no responsibility whatsoever. He says that in advance. So chas v'shalom, even if you should say things which are even on a blasphemous level, it's blasphemy, there's no culpability to the person himself for that reason.
Why do we believe this disclaimer that I don't want to do? It's like testifying against himself.
I mean, we always have throughout life. I mean, a person does things which are detrimental to his existence. That's choice. That is free choice. Tzaddik Rosh, it's free choice. That's the choice of a human being.
What happens to those mitzvahs that he did?
They're gone. They're gone. They're gone.
They're not displaced anymore.
He could do tshuva. Let's say he does tshuva before he dies. Now look, I have a Rambam, a small Rambam flying on the flat, small volume. He regrets it.
And he does.
Thank you. Yeah.
Very serious.
Good.
regret.
Good.
Now, somebody comes to speak to him and talks him out of the regret, and he wants to redo the mitzvah.
No.
Can he make it wrong?
What he does, if he does tshuva, the mitzvah is reinstated. The original mitzvah is reinstated.
It's not erased.
No. What's tshuva? Person does the wrong thing, so he has a blotch on his record. He has something negative on his record. He does tshuva. The record is cleared. It's as if the aver was never done.
Okay, so the mitzvah is not erased.
No, regarding his record.
The reward of the mitzvah is erased.
Okay, I mean the record has no relevance to him. That's what it says. They will not mention anything positive, his righteousness on the day of judgment.
We've learned this before. The way that I always understood it according to Rambam is that it's the reward for the mitzvah that's erased, but the mitzvah itself is still there. It's just that it's separate from him.
It's always that way. I mean, you can't undo a fact. You can't undo reality. A person commits a murder, chas v'shalom, and then he does sincere tshuva. He's not culpable. And he undergoes whatever he has to undergo to be atoned. The action has no relevance to him any longer.
But the proof of that is that he cannot make the bracha again.
No, you don't need that.
So the mitzvah comes back to him if he does that tshuva.
No.
That's what you said, it comes back to him.
No, of course, because it's as if he never disassociated with him.
The mitzvah was never erased. It was not like an eraser that was made forever.
Let's say a person dies. If a person dies, he can't do tshuva anymore. For all intents and purposes, the record it becomes obsolete. Has no relevance to anyone. Right? Let's say the person dies. He can't do tshuva any longer. So what's the point of even holding it in abeyance? You hold it in abeyance in case he does tshuva. Once he dies, it's over. Right? Then the record. First of all, the words of the pasuk is "Ein maskirin lo." They will not mention the negative record or the positive record.
But I'm just saying.
Okay.
That's what we just said. It's
Good.
a difference in the understanding.
When he's alive, after he dies.
When he's alive.
Okay,
When
good.
he's alive.
The Rambam, there's a Rambam Hilchos Tshuva, where the Rambam says something interesting. You have to understand. The Rambam quotes the Gemara. Yeah. Kol mi shenichem el mitzvos she'osa. Person who has regrets the mitzvahs that he did, v'to alo yischuyos, and he regrets the positiveness. V'oma belibo. Oh, so you have to understand the words of the Rambam. Oma belibo. What does it say? Oma belibo. Omar. Right? What is Oma belibo? He said in his heart. Okay, this makes it difficult. I mean, this is machshava ra HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitzvah from the Masa. Right? He didn't make a declaration. According to Rambam, he said in his heart, Umaho alti basiyoson. What is the value of all that I've done? Halavai lo asisioson. I wish I would have never done the mitzvos. Hareze ibeid is kulon. He's destroyed them all. Ibeid means he's obliterated them all. They maskir lo shum schus ba'olam. They will not mention regarding himself any merit. Shenema v'tzidka sar lo satzil b'yom risho. That's what he says. See, according to Rambam, one doesn't even have to verbalize it. So if you learn like that, then you have to say the way the others are learning. That he did a defiant act, but from Rambam he doesn't say he had to do a defiant act. He just said, in his heart, I regret everything I've ever done. That's sufficient. It's different. In our Kodesh Mutzaf Machshav Lamase, a thought, a negative thought, God doesn't value it as if it's an action. I'm just saying, it's difficult. It's difficult. So that's why the others learn, Rav Shimon Yochai, that he originally did something defiantly, and in addition to that, he regretted all that he had done. So because it manifested itself in a defiant act, therefore the thought takes on value. But thought independent of action has no value. From Rambam it seems to be. If he makes a verbal declaration, I understand. But he says, Oma belibo, even if he only feels this in his heart. No, that's taiva. No. This is defiance. No, defiance is spite. You could have eaten kosher and you chose to eat non-kosher. Same quality, same taste. That's defiance.
How does one reconcile the
In a kosher mutzaref machshava, thought. I'm saying it's different. I'm not answering. Yeah. Right. I'm not answering. He thought. I'm a believe means he thought. He thought.
He said it and he meant it because he really felt it. He said it and felt it. You can't
Yeah. One second. No. Doesn't need it. One second. Okay, we have just a few minutes. Let's start the next Mishnah. Kol sheyeshlo b'mikro b'mishno b'derech eretz. Person studies Chumash, studies Mishnah, and now this what derech eretz means. Does it mean is well mannered, behavior-wise? What derech eretz means, he's involved in commerce. He's responsible he contributes to society commercially. It's a question. It's machlokes rishonim. Rashi, it seems to be, says later, he's osip yishuv shalom. He contributes to society. Others learn derech eretz nimus. His actions are pleasant. His interaction with other people is in a pleasant way. Lo b'mehiru chote. Such an individual will not sin easily. Shenema hachut ha'mishulish lo b'mehiru yinotek. That a three-ply thread doesn't tear easily. So mikra mishnah and derech eretz. Chol she'eno lo b'mikra v'lo b'mishnah. He's not learned whatsoever. V'lo b'derech eretz. This is what we call, he's not a mensch, or he's not, according to the others, he doesn't behave, his behavior is not properly, enemy mina yishuv. It's best he should live outside of society. because this man is going to be a detriment to society. His behavior, because this person, he has no holdbacks. He has no conscience. A person who's learned in what he, and in addition, acts responsibly to society, that person contributes to society. He will not sin easily. He will do what's positive. But if a person is not learned and his behavior is unacceptable, ain't him in a yishuv.
The criterion is 3 against 3. It's not like it has to, all 3 is good and all 3 are bad. There's no middle?
No, there is middle. One is eno chote. That's extreme positive. He will not sin. It says lo bevehero. He will not sin easily. The other person, he's prone to sin. Omer Ablozo, Reb Tzodok, Lamad Tzadikim Nimsholim. What are tzadikim compared to? What are now Bolam as in this world? Leilon Shekula Omeid B'mokum Taharo. A tree is standing in a location of purity. It's meaning where the tree itself is standing is the location of purity. V'nofo notel l'mokum tuma. But the branches extend into a location of impurity. So what do? To contain the tree totally in a state of purity, niktas nofo kulo omeid mokum taro. So if you snip the branches which extend over the location of impurity, so now the tree in its totality is in a location of purity. I'll give you an example. I mean, just practically, in Queens, you have cemeteries, many cemeteries, and you have trees that grow, that are on the side of the road. The branch is an overhang over the graves, and then there's an overhang over the road. So when you drive down those streets, the branches actually go over the car. A Kohen, is he permitted to drive? And we're talking about the Jewish cemetery. These are Jewish cemeteries, not Jewish cemeteries. A Kohen's not permitted to drive down that street. Why? Because it's an oil. Since there's a branch covering over the cemetery and over the street, and it's continuous branch covering, it's an oil, and the tumah goes over the road, and the car is not sufficient to contain the person, to insulate the Kohen from that contamination. Okay? What happens now? You snip the branches on the roadside. So now the tree is totally contained within the cemetery. What happens if you snip off the branches on the cemetery side? No problem, because now the tree is totally contained outside the cemetery. Same thing. The tree is growing in a location which is pure. The branches extend over a location which is impure. What happens when you snip the trees, the branches? Now it's totally pure. The impurity speaking about, nobody's perfect. The tzaddik is not perfect. He sins. So if he's punished in this world, God clips his wings in this world and gives him limitation for atonement. So now he's totally pure. The tree now stands in a pure state. Since he stands in a pure state, when he passes on, he goes straight to Olam Haba. He doesn't need any purging. Okay? This is the mashal of what? Of the tree in the pure location with its branches overhanging an impure location.